All right. Looks like we've got a mountain of information here about traffic ID, huh? Reviews, articles, FAQs.
Yeah, someone's really trying to get a handle on this Brandwell.ai tool, see if it lives up to the hype.
That's what we're here for, right? To dive deep and figure out if it's truly a lead generation game changer or just another marketing gimmick.
Well, let's not jump to conclusions just yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So first things first, what exactly are we dealing with here? What is traffic ID and how does it work?
In a nutshell, it's all about identifying those anonymous visitors you get on your website. You know, the ones who browse around but never fill out a form.
Right, those ghost visitors. But how does traffic ID actually unmask them?
Well, it's mainly geared towards US traffic. And the secret sauce, so to speak, is script.
A script.
Yep. You embed it in your website's header. And according to their FAQ anyway, this script tracks US-based visitors.
Right.
Then it matches them against this huge database, a data co-op network.
Okay, hold up. Data co-op network. That sounds a little bit Big Brother-ish, doesn't it?
It's not as spooky as it sounds. Think of it like a giant pool of data. Lots of companies contribute to it. Every time you sign up for something online, buy something, even just browse the site.
You're leaving a trail of digital breadcrumbs.
Exactly. So TrafficID uses this data to match your website visitors with existing profiles.
So it's using all these little bits of data like IP addresses and cookies to try and figure out who's who.
Right. It's not 100% foolproof, but it's pretty sophisticated. According to what we're seeing, it can capture almost 30% of US traffic coming to your site.
30%. That's actually a pretty impressive chunk of visitors you'd otherwise be in the dark about.
And remember, that's after filtering out all the bots and crawlers. So we're talking about real people here.
Okay, color me intrigued. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What kind of intel does TrafficID actually reveal about these mystery visitors?
Think of it as getting a peek behind the curtain. You'll see names, email addresses, company info.
Wait, hold on. Names and email addresses? How is that even legal?
We'll dive into the privacy stuff a little later, but for now, just focus on the data itself. It can even give you job titles, LinkedIn profiles in some cases. It's pretty expensive.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here. But I gotta ask, what makes this data so special? We all collect data these days. What's the aha moment with TrafficID?
It's not just about knowing who visited your website. TrafficID takes it a step further by showing you how they interacted with it.
Okay, I'm listening.
You see their entire browsing journey, the pages they visited, how long they stayed on each one, even how far they scrolled down. It's like a digital map of their engagement.
So it's not just contact info, it's understanding their intent, what really grabbed their attention.
Exactly. And that's where things start to get interesting, because when you combine this behavioral data with their personal and professional details, you get a really clear picture of your audience, a much richer picture than you'd get from just a basic contact form.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Let's talk about how this all translates into actual leads and hopefully paying customers.
Now we're getting to the good stuff.
All right, so we've got this treasure trove of data, right? Names, companies, browsing habits. But the big question is, how do we actually use it?
That's the million-dollar question. How do you turn those anonymous visitors into leads, into paying customers? And that's what has so many marketers excited about TrafficID.
Because it gives them a level of insight they've never had before.
Exactly. Imagine you're running a PPC campaign. Right. Instead of just seeing clicks, you can actually see who clicked, what they did on your landing page.
So you're not optimizing for clicks anymore. You're optimizing for the right kind of clicks. From people who are actually interested, engaged.
That's the power of it. And this level of insight, it applies across your entire marketing strategy. Say you're a content marketer. Someone spends like 10 minutes on your latest blog post.
Let's say a blog post about, I don't know, the future of AI or something.
Sure. With TrafficID, you know exactly who that person is, what company they work for, maybe even their job title.
So instead of just sending out a generic newsletter blast, you can really tailor your follow-up right.
You can offer them a white paper on AI applications in their industry, or an invitation to an exclusive webinar. You're making a much more targeted, personalized connection.
Yeah, it's not just about casting a wide net anymore. It's about precision fishing.
And that personalization can be incredibly powerful. There's actually a really interesting case study mentioned in the Brandwell website, a user named Top Click Joe.
Top Click Joe.
Yeah, it sounds a bit cheesy, I know, but he claims to have used Brandwell to really explode his monthly recurring revenue.
Explode. By how much are we talking here?
He went from $10,000 a month to $350,000 a month.
Whoa, hold on. From 10 grand to 350 grand. That's a
Yeah.
pretty significant jump.
It is. Of course, the sources we have don't go into a ton of detail about his specific strategy.
Right, right.
But it seems like leveraging Brandwell, probably TrafficID in particular, was a key part of it.
Yeah, that's a pretty compelling story. And it's not just for marketers, right? Sales teams could really benefit from this too.
Absolutely. Imagine your sales team having detailed profiles of potential customers who've already shown interest in your products.
Because they visited specific pages on your website.
Right. So instead of cold calling, they're reaching out to warm leads, tailoring their pitches based on actual data.
It's about being in the right place at the right time with the right message.
Exactly. And speaking of the right place at the right time, one thing that caught my eye in the research was this company-wide interest alert.
Company-wide interest. What's that all about?
So TrafficID can actually detect when multiple visitors from the same company are poking around your site.
That's interesting. What does that tell us?
It could be a sign that a big opportunity is brewing. Maybe they're considering a group buy, or multiple decision makers are doing their research.
It's like having a little alarm bell going off. Hey, sales team, pay attention.
Exactly. And it gives them a real advantage when they reach out. They can be much more targeted and effective.
Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. All this data can't come cheap, can it?
Actually, their pricing is pretty straightforward. It's based on the cost of TrafficID with 300 leads document. They have these fixed monthly plans starting at $99 for 250 leads.
$99 for 250 potential leads. That's not bad, especially when you consider the potential ROI we've been talking about.
Right. And there's a free 7-day trial, so you can test it out without any risk. And if you use an affiliate link, you can actually get a 20% bonus on leads.
So instead of 250 leads for $99, you get 300.
Yep.
That's a pretty sweet deal. Okay, but before we get too carried away, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Privacy.
Yeah, that's a crucial aspect.
We've talked about all this amazing data,
Yeah.
but how does TrafficID handle privacy concerns? Is it even legal to collect this information without people knowing?
Great question. First off, TrafficID only operates in the U.S., and it's designed to comply with all U.S. privacy laws.
Okay, so it's legal, but legal doesn't always mean ethical, right?
Exactly. And that's why transparency is so important. TrafficID really emphasizes the need to be upfront with your website visitors.
So what does that look like in practice?
You need to have a really solid privacy policy, one that clearly explains what information is being collected by TrafficID and how it's being used.
So no hiding behind vague language or legalese.
No, it needs to be clear and concise, easy for anyone to understand, and most importantly, you need to give people a choice.
A choice to opt out if they don't want their data collected.
Exactly. Several of the sources mention the importance of having clear opt-out mechanisms. This could be a link in your website's footer, maybe even more granular controls, where they can choose what data they're comfortable sharing.
Okay, that makes sense. Giving users control over their data is crucial for building trust.
It is. It's not about being sneaky or trying to trick people. It's about being respectful, being transparent, and empowering your visitors to make informed decisions.
So we've covered the data, the applications, the cost, and the privacy considerations. What's next? What else do we need to know to really get the most out of TrafficID?
There's one more crucial aspect.
Oh yeah, integrations. That makes a lot of sense.
All this data, it's super powerful on its own, but it becomes even more so when it's seamlessly connected to your existing workflow, to your marketing tools, your CRM, all that.
Right, instead of having this data siloed off in some separate dashboard.
Exactly. And TrafficID actually offers a pretty impressive suite of integrations. They have native integrations with some really popular platforms like Go High Level.
Go High Level, that's a CRM, right?
Yep. And a marketing automation platform, too. It's pretty powerful. They also have integration with Slack.
Ah, Slack, the ubiquitous workplace communication tool.
So how do these integrations actually work in practice? Can you give me a real-world example?
Sure. Imagine someone downloads a case study from your website, something really high value. With the Go High Level integration, that lead's info gets automatically zapped over to your CRM.
So you can start nurturing that lead right away.
Right. You can trigger a personalized email sequence based on their interest in that specific case study.
That's slick. No more manual data entry, no more delays. Exactly. And then with the Slack integration, imagine someone spending a lot of time on your pricing page for your most expensive product.
Ooh, a hot prospect.
Right. Your sales team gets a notification in Slack in real time, letting them know this visitor is showing strong buying signals. maybe it's time for a more personalized outreach.
It's like having a digital scout, keeping an eye on your website 24/7.
And letting you know when the big fish are biting. Now, I know, not everyone uses Go High Level or Slack.
So what about everyone else? Are they out of luck?
Not at all. They've also got integration with Zapier.
Ah, Zapier, the duct tape of the internet, connects everything to everything.
Right. So no matter what tools you're using, HubSpot, Salesforce, MailChimp, whatever, you can probably connect it to TrafficID through Zapier.
So that opens up a whole world of possibilities for automation and data sharing.
And for those who are more, shall we say, technically inclined, TrafficID also has a webhook API.
API. Okay, now you're getting a little too technical for me.
It basically lets developers build custom integrations, connecting TrafficID to pretty much any platform or application you can imagine.
Okay, so flexibility and customization are key here. No matter what tools you're using, you can probably find a way to make them work with TrafficID.
Exactly. But what about those who like to keep things simple? Is there a low-tech option too?
Yeah, sometimes a good old-fashioned spreadsheet does the trick.
They've got you covered there too. TrafficID offers a CSV export function.
Excellent. You can just download all your lead data, analyze it, share it, whatever you need to do.
Right. So there you have it. We've covered how TrafficID works, the data it reveals, the applications, the cost, the privacy stuff, the integration options. It's a pretty powerful platform.
It definitely seems like it has the potential to really shake things up in the world of lead generation. But are we missing anything? Are there any potential drawbacks, limitations we haven't talked about yet?
That's a great question, and it's always important to approach any new tool with a healthy dose of skepticism, right?
Right.
TrafficID is powerful, but it's not a magic bullet. You need to know how to use it, implement it carefully, be mindful of ethical data practices, and be ready to adapt your strategies based on what you learn.
So it's not just plug and play. You need to put in the work, be strategic about it.
Exactly. But for those who do it right, the rewards can be pretty amazing.
So I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've seen what TrafficID can do, how it works, the good, the bad, the ethical considerations.
It's definitely a powerful tool, but as we've said, any tool can be used for good or for, well, not so good.
Right. And when we're talking about data, especially personal data, responsible use is paramount.
Absolutely. Transparency, respect for privacy, those are the guiding principles.
It's not about manipulating people or taking advantage of their data. It's about building trust, providing value, using this information to create a better experience.
And I think that leads us to a really important point. We've talked about the what and the how of TrafficID, but the real question for our listeners is what's next?
Exactly. How can you, the listener, use this information to take your lead generation to the next level?
Don't just focus on the bells and whistles. Think about your specific goals, your challenges. How can TrafficID help you overcome those challenges, reach those goals?
Maybe it's about personalizing your email marketing. Maybe it's about giving your sales team a leg up. Or maybe it's about creating a more data-driven culture within your entire organization.
The great thing about a tool like this is that it's not about throwing out your old strategies, it's about enhancing them. Adding a layer of intelligence, a layer of personalization that wasn't possible before.
It's like getting a peek behind the curtain, right?
Routine.
You see who's coming to your website, what they're interested in, and you can tailor your approach accordingly.
It's incredibly powerful. So as you dive into TrafficID, and I encourage you to do so, keep those questions in mind. What are your goals? What are your challenges? And how can this tool help you achieve those goals, overcome those challenges?
And remember, they offer that free 7-day trial, no risk involved. You can kick the tires, see how it works for you.
Experiment, explore, and see what you can discover. You might just be surprised at what you find. Maybe TrafficID is that missing piece you've been looking for.
Well, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into TrafficID. Hopefully, we've shed some light on this powerful tool, its possibilities, its limitations, and of course, the importance of using it responsibly.
The world of marketing is always evolving. New tools are popping up all the time. The key is to stay curious, keep learning, and never be afraid to experiment.
That's great advice. And until next time, keep pushing those boundaries. Happy marketing.